Good afternoon, everyone, and we want to welcome everyone to the Candidates Town Hall for the 2021 AIALA Board of Directors. My name is Steve Tanner. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the membership director for the chapter, and I'm helping with the election process, the ballot, and all those good things this year for this upcoming election. Or I should say this election, which is open already and available for your votes. We wanted to take this opportunity. We think it's important to have you meet all of our candidates and to get to know a little about their background and what their ideas and thoughts are about how best to lead our chapter in the next few years and direct that and affect that direction, really down the road. So a couple of housekeeping details. You probably heard all these before, but just to help things run more smoothly, if I could just ask everyone to rename yourself, your Zoom name, to make that your real name. That way, if we need to call on you, we can do so more easily during the Q&A. We'd also love to have everyone turn your video on for this program. If you have it already, we want to see your wonderful homes or your background. This is my background, but not my home. We'd also like to ask you to mute yourself if you are not muted, and to unmute yourself when it's time to speak. So for the candidates, when it's your turn to speak, please be sure to unmute yourself. We'll be holding the Q&A until each candidate has had their time to speak. So if participants have a question and want to put it in the chat, we can then call upon you during the discussion, and we can either ask your question for you or we can call on you to ask it yourself. So please also note that today's meeting is being recorded so that people who were not able to join us today can receive it on the website and hear the speeches at that time. So now I want to introduce our hosts and moderators for today. Wade Killefer, FAIA, a principal at KFA Architecture, is our 2020 chapter vice president and our 2021 chapter president. And he will be leading the conversation today and introducing the candidates. He will be accompanied by our...
Yes, yeah.
Oh, Lisa, can I ask you to just mute yourself?
Someone agrees, that's okay.
Oh, that's fine. And I should tell you that my husband was expecting to hear from you.
Steve, you should be able to mute her.
Oh yeah, sorry, I can do that.
Yeah.
If I could
Peter?
find her.
At least nobody's getting yelled at.
626.
There we go. Sorry, I forgot the power I had. Wade will be accompanied today by our 2020 chapter president, Greg Varabian, AIA, principal at HKS Architects in Los Angeles. So I know we're anxious to get to know all the candidates, so I'm going to turn things over to Wade Killefer. Wade?
Great, thanks, Steve. The purpose of today's town hall is to hear from our 10 nominees and better understand what programs and initiatives they propose to bring to the table. Each nominee will have 2 minutes to speak, after which you'll have an opportunity to ask them any questions you might have. Being a board member is highly rewarding, but achieving our chapter's mission and vision will also require some serious thought and decision-making, particularly in the challenging times like the ones we're going through right now.
I would agree, Wade. While we also hope that everybody enjoys the experience of collaborating with us on the board and like-minded colleagues guiding the AIALA, the board's leadership will be more crucial than ever as we figure out what's going to happen over the next couple of years here in our city and in our region. And I want to remind everybody that voting is live now on our website, and we will be open until Tuesday, November 10th at 12 noon Pacific time. You can find the links to the nominee bios and platforms and the ballot itself in the chat. Architect and associate members in good standing of the AIA Los Angeles are eligible to vote. Only associate members are eligible to vote for associate director positions. Some of these positions are uncontested, while others have several candidates running. We do encourage you to vote for all open positions. Wade?
With that, let's call our first candidate running for Vice President, President-elect. We have Mitra Mamari, AIA partner at ZGF.
Hi, everyone. It's great to see some familiar faces and some new ones. And thank you for that introduction. Again, my name is Mitra Mamari. I'm a partner at ZGF Architects, and I'm really excited to be running for VP. I've been a treasurer at AIALA the past 2 years, and it's been a very fulfilling and rewarding experience for me. As a woman, as an immigrant, and as a person of color, I think the issues of diversity and inclusion have been really a passion of mine, something that I've personally have experienced. This past year has been a very challenging year for all of us, and I think the murder of George Floyd and the uprising to end racial injustice has kind of been overwhelming, but also hopeful. AIALA had several town halls in collaboration with SoCal NOMA, and those were very inspiring to me. One of the great things that came out of that was the JEDI Committee, which is a collaboration of the two boards. One of my hopes as VP and President-elect is to continue to find ways where we can engage with other organizations in our communities and collaborate to build a strength and a mission of, and contribute to the mission that we're all working towards. Another great thing that came out of the town halls was this idea of making AIA a household name. And the benefit of that is, one, everybody could understand better what we as designers and problem solvers can bring to their communities. And secondly, how the youth in all of the neighborhoods and communities can better understand what an architectural profession is and hopefully see themselves as future architects. So those are two of the items that I'm really passionate about continuing to developing. So thank you for that.
Okay, great, thank you. Next, running for AIA California representative, please welcome Michael Falonis, FAIA founding principal and design director of Michael Falonis Architects. Michael?
Yes, good morning, good afternoon. First of all, it's an honor to be considered to be on this position. I actually held this position a number of years ago. I was a director for a number of years with LAIA. After that, I became the AIACC representative for AIA Los Angeles, and then became secretary for LAIA. In 2015, I was instrumental in getting a California state law changed. We can do this, and this is one of the things I think that's really important for our membership to know, that we can work with AIACC, be actively involved in changing laws that are not working for architects. And by the way, all architects in California. This law that was changed had to do with, it was an antiquated law that if you were on a board or commission for a city and you were an appointed member of that board or commission, that if you were working with a developer that had a development agreement with that particular city, and they brought that project before your board, the obvious thing to do is to recuse yourself. That's the politically correct thing to do. And but that wasn't good enough. California state law said that if you stayed on that, if you recused yourself, you could be convicted of a felony in California. Now, this covered architects, engineers, landscape architects, all professionals. And there were 8 of us in Santa Monica that left boards and commissions, from Planning Commission, Architectural Review Board, Parks and Rec, all of these commissions that we collectively as architects we're really doing a tremendous service, voluntary service to the city. We got letters from the city which told us that we could stay on if we chose to do so, but just know that you could be charged with a felony, and if convicted, well, we know what that would look like. So I thought this was completely wrong, and I was involved at that time with the board, AIACC representative, and I went to the legislative analyst at the California chapter, and it wasn't instantaneous, but it did take 2 years, and we got the law changed. So my position is that this is something I want to actively do with our other AIACC representative, is to work together on changing or bringing new issues up that affect architects. And it's not just our membership, but it's architects in California. And I think one of the things that we can do is, if we get the word out that we're doing this actively for all architects in California, maybe our membership will grow from this as well. So it's an honor to be considered for this position, and I look forward to working with staff. I look forward working with the board and the membership. Thank you.
Great, Michael, thank you. Running for ex officio associate director, our next candidate is Elise Robles, associate AIA, a designer at MBBJ.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. As mentioned, I work at MBBJ. I have a focus in healthcare design, and my experience includes being co-sustainability leader in the LA studio and serving on the MBBJ Anti-Racism Task Force. I believe that AIA is the best organization to affect change in architecture, which is why I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be a candidate for the 2021 AIALA Board of Directors. I am currently pursuing licensure myself, and I'm excited for the chance to represent and advocate for associate members as ex officio associate director. And as a liaison, I look forward to continuing the AIALA's commitment to promoting excellence, along with providing information and leadership to associate members. During my term, I am committed to fostering an inclusiveness and encouraging individual, community, and professional development, and coalescing the growing associate community into a strong voice within the LA chapter. Thank you.
Thanks, Elise. And now for position of treasurer, we have 2 candidates. We'll hear first from David Van Wyk, FAIA Project Management Executive at Walt Disney Imagineering.
Hi, thank you so much for this event. This is great. Things that I'm interested in, we all know that 2050 net zero is going to come on us pretty quickly. And the things that we're all struggling with right now with our health crisis and climate change, it is a wake-up call for all of us, particularly our profession. I would like to work within the chapter's existing strategic plan to help set interim goals to pace our efforts. Many firms have already set net zero 2030 goals. What can we learn from them as we look at our own practices? I think we also need to understand that there's a disproportionate impact on low-income communities in Los Angeles, and what should we be doing in that interest? And I think for all of us, we need to better understand, what is it to have a zero carbon practice? I know that there are many out there that are exploring that, but I'm not quite sure that we're all on an equal playing field. I'd like to suggest that we look at our continuing education program and a requirement for anywhere between 3 and 6 hours for all of us to better understand net neutrality. You know, as we all understand the things we had to do with ADA, I think this is equally important, and that requires an emphasis. And, you know, we have annual COAT design winners. What can we do to celebrate them, help these firms tell their case studies and share their stories so that all of us can better understand the experiences as we begin to face the same challenges? Like, one of the things that I'm particularly excited about is the newest organization within the chapter, Architecture for Communities of Los Angeles. This is a huge opportunity for us to increase the public literacy on project delivery and help us all tell our story. I think our Instagram site is absolutely fantastic. How can we explore other areas of social media to reach areas we've not yet reached? And we're going to need strategic partners to help do the things that we need to do with this nonprofit organization. You know, as an example, and I've seen this in our organization where we've had engineering design clubs. You know, can we do the same thing for high schools with architects, aspiring architects, where they can explore the concepts of design and shelter, and possibly even host an annual competition where, again, we can increase our profile and our visibility within the networks and the medias. The last thing is a particular interest in how we can bridge our emerging professionals with a number of groups that already exist, the chapter's mentorship program, and our current and future classes of the College of Fellows. I've had some experience in reverse mentoring where we take and have those people that are entering their careers mentor those who are most experienced. And I find it to be an interesting exchange where, you know, I've learned an awful lot and have been taken to school by people that are just starting their career. And I think this would be a fantastic thing. At the same time, I think it would be great if we can host a fellows lecture series where we can get our most experienced leaders here in the Los Angeles chapter to share their stories and experiences with those that are just beginning. I look forward to this opportunity and very excited to the chance to serve with others. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, David. Also running for treasurer, please welcome Annette Wu, AIA, Associate Principal, NAC Architecture.
Thank you, Wade, and hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here and to be considered for this position. I've been a chair for the Women in Architecture Committee for the past 3 years, and in that committee, I really learned the teamwork and the collaboration it takes to produce the powerful conference, as well as the bi-monthly events we have, which have focused on embracing diversity through inclusion, encouraging professional growth, and promoting leadership within the profession. With my work in programming these events, I really feel that we've expanded to amplify many of AIALA's other focus areas. Currently in the Powerful Conference, we've featured BIPOC leaders such as Nithya Raman, who comes from an urban planning background and is an advocate for making change for the homeless. Another speaker was Dawn Hicks, who's a voice for the community in housing equity. So I really believe that this experience that I've had in programming and planning would be beneficial to AIA's board of directors. And as a board member, I would continue to listen and work with the many stakeholders of the staff and AIA community to develop actionable initiatives that further the chapter's goals of equity and diversity. Thank you for this opportunity.
Great, thank you, Annette. So for the 2 director positions available, we have 5 candidates running. We'll start with Stephen Albert, AIA Principal, TAG Studio.
Thanks, Wade. Great to be with everybody and great to have this opportunity to run. For those who don't know me, I've been around for a long time in Los Angeles. I started my firm in 1979. And right after that, developed an interest and taught office and project management at SCI-Arc for a number of years, about 12 years. And then I was able to get myself on the Architectural Commission for the city of Beverly Hills, where we tried very hard to provide some predictability about what seemed like, and still to a certain extent is, a very capricious process rather. Since then, after spending some years just focusing on building my firm and tending to my family, I'm now serving on the City of Los Angeles Housing Task Force, which is charged with the responsibility of seeing if we can reduce barriers and constraints towards getting to at least as far as we possibly can, to creating an additional 400,000 housing units in the city of Los Angeles, as I say, through 2028. With everything that's going on, that goal seems to be receding, but hopefully we can make an inroad on that. My specific goals and platform for the board is to expand member opportunities by promoting stable, reliable business processes that gain public respect and trust in the architect's ability to provide leadership for a sustainable environment. And to do that, I believe, after my years of experience, that we need to have the tools that enable each architectural practice to be on a firm financial footing so the firm can attract the best talent and provide a supportive work environment. To meet those goals, we have to focus, or my focus would be on supporting the business of architecture and the contractual basis of the profession, and to understand the risk-reward issues that are simply not discussed enough and are not highlighted enough, and we don't have a common understanding of what risk-reward and the legal challenges of the profession are. And to do that, the last emphasis is on the profitability as a component of professional satisfaction. At the end of the day, we have a contract. The contracts are regulated by the Architectural Practices Act. In order to do work, we have to have a contract. It has to be understood. We send out a bill and we expect to get paid. And I think those topics have been dusted off and have not been placed in the importance. And I think they are central to a successful architectural practice. And that's what I'd like to emphasize as a member of the board of directors.
I think we can all get behind a little profitability. Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Michael Anderson, AIA NOMA, president of Anderson Barker Architects.
Thank you, Wade. Hi, my name is Michael Anderson. I'm an architect. I've been practicing architecture for a little over 40 years. I sometimes hate to say that. But I became an architect because I watched a lot of middle-income Black communities die as I grew up. And I happened to live in a community that was black and white before segregation laws. That was a great place to live. And my godfather was an architect, and I saw how he would design and remodel buildings that would change the communities. He was also partner architect on the Martin Luther King Hospital in Watts, Willowbrook community. But looking at the community, it had a great hospital, but it did not have the quality of life around it that's reflective of a middle income neighborhood. As architects, we change communities and we change societies. And what I would like to do is create more balanced income communities and direct investment into low income impacted areas. And for the past 2 years, I've been working on a process of having Metro become a land assembly entity in Los Angeles, since we no longer have redevelopment agencies, utilizing private capital to acquire land and then master plan and entitle that land based on the community's vision and sell it to developers to build homes for home ownership that will start to create equity for low and middle income families. I've developed homes for first-time buyers in Leimert Park. Those were single family homes, but now we're moving a direction of having them acquire duplexes and triplexes so they can start to have equity as they raise their kids, but also to make kids landlords in the management of properties. The solution addresses both our land assembly needs, but also we have private capital sources willing to fund Metro. This is in line with Phil Washington's vision to have Metro influence investments along transit corridors. And when Metro acquires the land and sells it, it creates new revenue and profit for Metro to come out of COVID-19 with a new revenue source, but also facilitating projects for us to design in low-income compacted communities with the goal of making balanced income communities by having middle-income families move into these communities. I believe there's a solutions for managing gentrification. I've talked about that in ULI's event with State of the Cities 3.0. But for the Metro process, I have 4 cities already involved to participate in the pilot project. It's 200 acres along the West Santa Ana Branch Corridor. We have 3 county supervisors on board, 2 Metro board members on board, and on Tuesday, I'll be presenting this to Mayor Garcetti, who is the chair, to the Director of Transportation for Mayor Garcetti, who is the chair of the Metro board to help implement this process. The purpose is that as architects and utilizing Metro to assemble this land, we can start to address our housing shortage, help create wealth, and create jobs for AIA members. What I will bring to the board is a perspective from an architect that has worked within these communities on solving the community problems, which often is a lack of leadership knowing how to connect the dots and transfer those into business transactions to make our projects get built faster. And I would like to utilize the relationship with the capital sources to make that possible. And so I'm honored to be invited to this. I've never served with the AIA in any, except as a member. And if I'm selected, I would ask that we assist in implementing solutions, as everybody said, for low-income impacted communities to become better places to live. And most importantly, for children to grow up and become self-sustaining adults. And thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Next up is Michael Hammer, FAIA, Chair of the Department of Architecture at East LA College and co-principal of D. Michael Hammer, FAIA Architects and B. Arc Builder Architects.
Thanks, Wade. That'll work. Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to present my platform to the AIALA community. In my case, I really hope that you'll look at my bio and platform to best understand my perspective and highlights of this presentation. I wish to serve the board of directors and lead a growing initiative for an agile and diverse pathway to our profession. So here's my setup. My practice and my experience in education has led to the development of a highly successful university transfer program. When I took the leadership role at ELAC, or East Los Angeles College, I firmly believed, and I was right, that the students from this community could be successful in architecture and the profession would embrace them. We serve even the most unprepared college students effectively. In 2008, we transferred a record 40 students to accredited programs, many across the country, Pratt, Cooper Union. We now average 24 a year with 98% of those students graduating, and now they're working. Prior to my engagement, we were averaging about 5. I developed formal relationships with our local universities, and our students are recruited to these programs. They are prepared and they graduate. I've also developed relationships with firms as sponsors and advisors to our program. So here I am. My platform is to parlay that experience with the chapter to utilize its resources to create more meaningful outreach to middle and high schools. To first, advise and promote the benefits of being an architect. Surprising how many young people don't know what that is. Providing examples of success. One I'm proud of, which is a new relationship that we've had for the last 3 years going on 4, is our partnership with NOMA. Their success and their outreach to a larger community expands my community, and they're our partner with us at ELAC. Another thing that I've done in terms of examples is we've hired former ELAC students who have graduated and who are now on their pathway to licensure, and we partnered with USC's architecture program to teach embedded programs in high schools for college credit. Those students are exposed to successful young people with similar backgrounds who look like them. Very powerful. Second, advisement to the academic pathways. What is a university program, the curriculum? What are the requirements? What's a 2-year program? How does that pathway differ? Third, and this is really important based on my anecdotal sort of experience, demystify academic requirements of an architectural degree. We are not architectural engineering. Students are often unaware, or their school counselors misguide and then unfortunately dissuade them to pursue architecture because of their thought that architecture has to be heavy in math and sciences. We need to enlighten the students as well as the faculty, counselors, and administrators. STEM programs are actually hurting that endeavor. The ripple, we increase positive exposure to our profession of young people in their informative years. We provide a pipeline for students from underrepresented populations. And we produce the next generation of architects who truly reflect the diversity of our society. In closing, knowledge and empowerment will provide the next generation of young professionals to have the ability to impart their talents with independence and self-governance. With awareness and a clear, agile path to the profession, the diversity challenge can and will be achieved. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. And we have yet a third Michael, Michael Kemp, AIA Managing Director at Michael Kemp Architects.
Yes, I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to participate in this town hall. My name is Michael Kemp. I was raised in Chicago, graduated from the University of Utah, and I've worked for several award-winning architectural firms in Southern California. I was the Director of Architecture for a nationwide home builder, and I've had my own practice for over about 15 years. I've also served on several nonprofit boards. I've served on the board of my Los Angeles Neighborhood Council, and I've also been the chair of their Planning and Land Use Committee and served on several local architectural review boards. I do think we're going to be facing several challenges coming up. I think what we're seeing with the pandemic and the incredible increase of small businesses that have been closed, many of them permanently, we may be looking at a severe downturn in the economy coming up. However, I also feel there's a lot of opportunities. I think right now, as design professionals, we're going to be able to look again at the insight on how offices, schools, restaurants, even homes are designed and how they deal going into this new world in the future. Some of the priorities for me too are outreach. I do feel that the future of our profession is geared toward the younger generations. And as I've heard before, we need to continue to feed that pipeline. And I would be a large supporter of school programs, after school programs, because I do feel we need to reach the very youngest people to get them excited about our profession and show them what an incredible profession it is. It doesn't ever get boring, that type of thing. So lastly, also, I feel, we need to continue the value to our members of what it means to be a part of the AIA, the incredible educational tools for their practice, everything that can be of benefit to them. And lastly, support for the AIALA staff. I've been a member of the AIALA for over 30 years, and I think we have just an incredible staff. As a member of the board of directors, I'd want to continue to support them, give them the tools to continue, because I think they've done some incredible work in education, outreach, and governmental affairs. So again, thank you for your time and your consideration.
Great, thank you. Our final nominee for director is Christiana Kirilu, principal in charge and studio executive chair of Woods Bagot, Los Angeles. I didn't mention that we have 5 candidates for directors and 2 positions available. Christiana, go ahead. Thanks.
Thank you, Wade. Thanks, everybody. My name is Christiana Kirilu, and as Wade mentioned, I am the principal and studio executive chair at Woods Bagot Architects, and I have recently relocated to Los Angeles from San Francisco to lead our expansion, our growth and expansion in Los Angeles. I have over 20 years of experience, the last of which 12 years with Woods Bagot. During this time, I have developed the internship and graduate recruitment program within our company, and I'm now leading the EDI task force within our company and trying to impact and influence change. I was previously on the committee and programs committee of the Commercial Real Estate Women in San Francisco. Today, I believe that we are at such a pivotal moment where so many key issues are shaping our profession and our practice, from COVID to the pandemic and the economic recession, to climate change and social justice and diversity. I believe that we all need to speak up and to be part of that change. I am thrilled to be considered for the board of directors and to be part of that change myself. If I'm elected, I plan to support the AIA Los Angeles chapter, its vision, core values and initiatives, and deliver its strategic plan together with the rest of the board in providing inspiration, inclusivity, advocacy, value, and relevancy in our community, our profession, our members, and the public. I plan to listen and get to know the ins and outs of the different chapter committees, from the Committee on the Environment to JEDI, the Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee, to Women in Architecture Committee, as well as the other, and to work with them and support them to further develop and advance their initiatives and priorities, both internally within the chapter and externally in the community, and championing the transformation and change that is necessary and inevitable, both in our systems and in our built environment within the communities that we live in. I want to thank you for this opportunity to be considered for the board, and I look forward to developing deeper relationships, providing mentorship, and staying at the forefront of change within our industry and profession. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Christiana. Okay, now that you've met all the candidates for the 2021 board, we want to turn the mic over to you for questions. Your question can be for a specific candidate, or you may ask a question for all the nominees to answer.
And if you can raise your hand to be called on, I think there's a little button down at the reactions in order for that to work, or I guess raise your hand and maybe Steve will spot you in your window. And feel free to type your question into the chat window, so it'll be easier to go through each one. Steve, I think Lisa Matheson is raising her hand or waving at us. I'm not sure.
Well, knowing me, I might just be waving. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
This is sort of this is a question for everybody, but, and I haven't thought it through the words exactly, but I know what I want to say. You know, basically we're in one heck of a position right now as a world, to be honest, and as a society. We've got climate change, we've got social equity issues, we've got the pandemic, we've got pretty severe political, like could be severe political unrest. Do you, as a candidate, see any particular path forward for architects through this? Is there one particular issue we should be focusing on? How do we handle this kind of multi-level sort of catastrophic situation we find ourselves in? What does that mean for architects? I know this is kind of like either a gimme or a terrible question. Christiana's laughing.
Steve?
Okay, what I'd like to say on that is that what we've heard from everybody is incredibly impressive. These are great objectives, great platforms, great programs. But to answer Lisa's question, I think the chapter has to step back. And I think that the chapter's role is not to, how should I say, provide a blueprint, if you will, for each one of these programs, but to enable each one of these programs that have been described to go forward. And in my, the way I feel about it is that the chapter's role is much more basic. And in order to accomplish the goals that we've set forth, not much can be done to further these goals unless we, as must have struck a nerve, emphasize profitability and the business side of architecture as a component of professional satisfaction. If you're going to do these things and run a firm, you have to run the firm in a business-like manner. You have to make what your objectives are to who's paying the bills, whoever the contractor, what the tasks are, and what the expectations are going to be, so you can get paid. And you have to get paid in a manner and an amount that allows you a profitable career, a career that pays your employees well. The employees are sadly underpaid, so I don't know how the heck we get any of this done with underpaid staff and without a firm financial footing for all of the firms. So at the base, at the bottom, at the foundation is a firm financial footing and a path to profitability for the firms. Then you can pursue your goals. But without that, it's not going to happen. That's my opinion, and that's my answer to that question.
Anybody else? Christiana?
Sure, thank you. Lisa, wow, that is a fully loaded question that will probably take us months and years to come to answer. However, it is exactly what my sort of platform is all about, because recognizing exactly that is what's happening in our day-to-day lives, in our communities, in our profession. And as a chapter, we have to stay at the forefront of what and listen, learn, and promote initiatives that will support our general communities, our members, provide an avenue and a platform to express our voices, to speak up. I'm not saying that that I have the answers or that we have the answers all at once. It will take us time to navigate through this current climate of how you put it, catastrophic proportions. I don't like to use that word because I like to stay optimistic and look at the possibilities of what we can achieve when we come together and recognize what the problems are, and come together to define how we come together to solve it. And it will take time. It's not going to happen over time, but I'm staying optimistic and why I believe that the change is inevitable. It is necessary and inevitable, and we will get there. But we all have to put our hand up and speak up, raise our hand, be part of the conversation, and not sit back and let somebody else do it.
Great. Michael?
Yes, I agree with the comments that were made. And Stephen, you're right, this is a business. And one of the things that I think is sort of lacking in the overall composition of what we do and what we say and how we act as architects is how we explain the value that we bring as architects, not only to communities by serving on boards and commissions, but by our clients, and it's not that we're a full service architectural firm. Everybody can say that, but how do we actually bring value to projects? And I've worked for a very long time trying to develop that message, but it's actually business related. And I think you're absolutely correct in stating that. One of the other things that we've got to put out within the next 19 days is vote.
Okay. Anybody else? Michael Anderson?
Thank you, Lisa, for that question. And actually, thanks everyone for that input. It's been interesting to me. I think now, as a result of COVID, we may want to sit back and plan and start redirecting how we're going to do business as we come out. Majority of my clients are public sector, LAX, and everybody switched from design bid build to design build to now going to capital sources to take over the project, design it and build it. And over the last year, I've been thinking most architects, just as Michael Falanis just said, is if we can engage with the capital sources to show them how we can bring value to their plans for investment and direct their capital into the solutions we know our cities need, then we can also not only create our work, but create the solutions that make our cities a better place to live. Right now, we're following the clients and we're following where the capital sources are directing their money, and the LAX calls us when they decide who's going to finance their project. But I think if we somehow we could increase our marketability and our value as a business by starting to demonstrate how financial institutions, wealth capital managers can invest their capital into the products that we create. I haven't figured that out, but I think that's the way we elevate ourselves in relationships with the key influencers that will be directing how the capital is spent. It's going to take some research, but I just think that we need to shift from waiting for them to give us the work and show them where they can put their money as an asset.
Great, thank you. David?
Not a very long answer, but an awesome question. And it's a question I think that I had been putting to a number of people as I was talking about running for this office. And I even said to him, I said, this is an awesome quote and I'm going to use it and credit you. It's Scott Simpson from the East Coast, but he reminded all of us that he said, we're in the leadership business and that design is our medium. And I think I've heard this echoed by all of us here. You know, I'm surrounded by awesome leaders in this audience today, but I don't think that's a concept that really became clear to me until I was probably midpoint in my career. And I think it's really important for all of us to step back and realize that as part of our formal training, we've been prepared to be awesome leaders, and that the challenges that lie in front of us is something that we're equipped to and should be prepared to head on. So I think, yes, it's awesome to look at the challenges, but that we should be calling on ourselves and our profession to step up to be the leaders in business that we've been prepared to take on. So thank you.
Great. Michael Kemp.
Yes, I just want to say, kind of tagging on to, I think in part of that question was, if we were talking to students who were just getting out of architecture school, sometimes we want to say like 2020 has been just one incredible, crazy year, but sometimes that's where the opportunities are as you get through the chaos. And I think one thing that we can show them is, as architects, we're known for being problem solvers. And that many times when things seem the darkest, there's ways to get through it. Also, I think this also comes back down to advocacy. And as I mentioned, I think getting involved in neighborhood councils, those type of things where you're interacting with people who normally have not interacted with architects before, I think they can see, as David mentioned, that we're many times in a leadership role, and they do respect our opinion, and we can have influence on them. So thank you.
Thank you. Annette?
I think I'm going to be now dovetailing onto what Michael said. I was thinking the similar thing. Our chapter, we can't just support one idea. We have to, there are so many issues to address all at once. And I think what we need to do is really inspire our members. What we are as architects are problem solvers, and to, go out and address the issues that they feel passionate about. So.
Good. Michael Hammer. Michael Hamner.
Here I am. I'm having a technical problem. Couldn't do it with my hand up and my hand on the side. I'm playing a specific role in this discussion, and the question now is becoming a little, when it gets to me here, and what am I bringing here with my my platform, and I think it's commitment. 5 years ago, I couldn't get in the door with speaking to firms to talk about what a program like East Los Angeles, serving a community that we serve and providing a pathway of support for these kids that aren't ready for college, aren't ready even finish high school. And can they be ideal candidates to go on to a very complex profession such as ours, dealing with these very issues that you're talking about, from Steve's comments from running a simple business and being business sellable, and the other issues that we're dealing with, and our role in framing our communities. Part of the beauty of working within inner city kids is, and I grew up in this community. The community changed around me or evolved around me. I shouldn't say changed. And I've been in, I've had to respect and learn to adapt with my community, and it's been a beautiful experience. When we exceed expectations, as Steve Tanner has talked about a number of years ago with an article he wrote with the LA chapter periodical, that was something that was actually very helpful for us as a group. That 8 years since then, and as I mentioned, 5 years ago, if I came knocking on your doors and said, hey, I'm the guy over at East LA College wanting you to support our kids to get into a pathway into the profession, it wasn't a priority. This is not a good reason for it to be a priority now, but I'm glad it is, and we're going to take advantage of it. So those things that we talk about, Michael Anderson talking about, and back into his communities, are going to happen with these young people who have lived those situations. They're looking to us as leadership to provide that support, though. We can't just look at this today and then a couple of years from now not stay as focused on this and then go to another shiny object. And so what I ask is that we commit to this next generation. We open up the doors to more young people. Again, you talk to kids and from the inner cities that got into architecture, and you ask them how did they get there, and if it wasn't someone that knew of somebody in the profession, they never heard about it in schools. And some of the schools are misleading. There's a lot of our young kids with STEM. STEM is really a great avenue for science, technology, engineering, and math. But until last year, architecture was not a part of that acronym. And now it's misunderstood. And a lot of our kids are misunderstanding what it takes to pursue a role. So I want to keep that as a part of this future as we talk about this COVID situation now, social justice, It's got to continue, for the long term, and hopefully something else doesn't hijack that and take away that emphasis that we need.
Thank you. Let's see, any other hands up? Okay, well, thanks to all of our candidates. On behalf of Greg and myself and all the staff, we wish you much success. We look forward to working with you with next year's board of directors. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your comments and questions. Stephen, you got something?
I have something to say about all of this, and it's a story I hope you can appreciate. I hope all of us have seen the movie My Architect on Lou Kahn. And there's a scene in it where they interview, Lou started off or had an earlier career, and he served on the building committee of his temple. And one of the first commissions which they awarded him were the Trenton Baths, which was part of their community. So many years later, they went back, or his son went back and interviewed the rabbi and asked him about Lou. And the rabbi thought for a minute and he said, you know, nobody knew that Lou was famous. He never made any money. So I'd just like to leave you with that thought.
So you know about the architect that won the lottery?
You what?
And the architect won this lottery, and millions and millions of dollars, and they said, what are you going to do with it? And he said, keep working until it's all gone.
Oh, that's right. It's been great.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll call the meeting to an end. Steve, do you want to add anything?
I would just say, Wade, why don't we give you guys a round of applause, and thank you very much for stepping up and wanting to lead that chapter. It's very, very important, and we look forward to working with some of you next year and in the years to come. But for all of you, whether you become part of the board, I would like to encourage you to stay connected and take leadership roles with our committees. We have 11 committees that need leadership, and they're very effective. They are the engine of the chapter. They make it happen, basically. So please stay connected, okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I hope I can meet some of you in person very soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Nice
everyone.
to meet everyone.
Very much for
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.